We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way.
Regarding a question once asked, many politicians, mainly Donald Trump, are using Mexicans to spread their hate speech. However, recent studies have proved that Mexicans are actually good to the economic system because they are supporting the agricultural part, which many Americans they don't want to go to the fields and recollect all the fruits. And most of those people, they don't really have any criminal records. They're really peaceful persons. So the arguments that Donald Trump said in their speech are mainly fake news. Some of the push factors are that Americans say that the Mexican community or the Latino community are unable to accept their culture. They say that the Mexicans immigrants they don't respect their laws, they don't respect the principles of democracy, which it's not. It can cause controversy because we just can't say that all Mexicans they really assimilate the American culture, but we just can't say that to any other immigrants. Chinese people they have their own communities inside the Americans metropolis. You have to Chinatown, for example.
Regarding the pull factors, it is important to mention that it is very appealing for Mexicans to go to the United States, not only for the kind of legislation and institutions that determine the United States, and that's why it is much more appealing for Mexicans to go there, but it's also really important to analyze the way that the Mexican government has repeatedly failed to generate equal opportunities for Mexicans to work, and that's why it is like a really important factor for them to search for social mobility in the United States. It is also very important to establish that the United States acquired more than half of Mexico's territory in the mid-19th century. So most of Mexican labor turned into an American. So their culture and language, which is really criticized by Huntington, establishing that they refuse to learn English. It's basically because they lived in Mexico and they turned into Americans from one day to another. And so that is something really important to also analyze. And the programs that have been rising since the 1980s haven't been as successful as they should be to integrate Mexicans into the community of the Americans. It's not that they're all unwilling, it's that it has not been a necessary transition successful. The question number 3 regarding the politicization between the words undocumented workers or illegals. Is there a distinction between both? And we consider that absolutely it makes a difference in the world because it has a negative connotation towards a person by calling them illegals while they're just doing a job or they cross the border to do a job. As Miros, my friend, was saying, that they're working in the agriculture and they're even improving the economy of the United States. So in the article, they also established that the Mexicans haven't been able to integrate themselves to the American culture, and we think that's completely not a false statement because there's also the Chinese community living there and the Muslim community, and they both have their different kind of cultures, but they integrate themselves in the US. So it would be really interesting to analyze how the Chinese have incremented the economy of the United States and as well the Hispanics.
We can say globalization is changing cultural aspects of the United States, as well as various aspects of all the countries that have agreed to open their frontiers to migration and commerce. According to Huntington's article, Who Are We? The Challenges to America's National Identity, migration by Mexicans and other Latinos has changed aspects as language usage as well as the educational and the economical system, as there is a failure in the immigrated population of third and fourth generation to approximate U.S. norms in education, economic status, and intermarriage status. And let's not forget the religious element that has suffered changes. While Americans are commonly Protestants, Latinos has brought Catholicism to the country. This is very significant as because of the religious aspect, they have different perception of wealth and power. How good they do in life is how their afterlife will be like. For us Latinos, they base their American dream on the seeking for a better life while preserving their values and lifestyle. Since Latinos are not very prompt to assimilate completely to the American culture, some Latino traditions have come to place themselves in the American society. Huntington estimates that by 2050, of the total the American population, a quarter will be made up by Mexicans. Thus, it's not surprising that schools are offering bilingual education. Americans are learning Spanish more and more, while they also celebrate Cinco de Mayo and 1 and 2 of November.
Making an analysis on Samuel Huntington's article, we do think that immigrant movements have been happening. In fact, they have been rising since the election of President Donald Trump, who also has promoted these movements of white working middle-class males, like Samuel describes in this article. According to an investigation made from the Edison election exit poll, the profile of the people that voted for Trump were 53 men, 58% were white people, 67% were people that does not have university degree, 62% that live in rural areas, 84% who think that immigrants, especially Mexicans, should be deported, and 86% who think that a wall should be built. As it is shown, their description fits perfectly for the one given by Samuel, the one that we already mentioned. And so based on this result and what Donald Trump has done during the time he has been president, the rise of national white nativist movements is very plausible, as it is that the American system is little willing to prevent them. Trump's repeated rhetoric, the promise to build a wall on the border of Mexico, and his proposal to ban entry on the United States to Muslims has won him a great number of adepts among the most xenophobic groups, like the KKK in the attack to Charlottesville, where Trump was criticized for his moral ambiguity when he also condemned the Black Lives Matter and the anti-fascist movements for the violence of his town. And as Ohio's Governor John McCain said, there is no moral equivalency to Nazi sympathizers. There cannot be room in America or the Republican Party for racism, anti-Semitism, hate, or white nationalism.
As it is stated in Huntington's work, the size, persistence, and regional concentration of Mexican immigration obstruct assimilation. There are a great population of Hispanics living in the USA, and the great majority is living close to one another in large cities. This creates a feeling of community and a bit of patriotism that lets them hold onto their values and traditions, making them feel like home without the need or urge to assimilate new traditions. Nevertheless, Huntington's study also states how new generations were going to be married to people of different heritage, as more of 67% of Latinos will be entering the American labor force, more than 21% of them working in business, science, and management areas. As both Huntington and Delano agrees, the second and third generation born of these previous ones are more likely to assimilate than their parents. This shows us that assimilation is a long-term process and will not be achieved just because American society demands them to. On the other hand, Latinos and Hispanics have priorities different from the ones of Americans, this having much to do with their religious values. Their ambition is different. Their perspective of American dream is based on a better standard of living, but never on seeking for great deals of power and money. It's usually just a desire to give their families a good life. Yeah.
As Huntington states in his work, the United States were created by the different immigrant communities that came looking for freedom and better opportunities. The mix of race, ethnicity, culture, religion, and ideology founded what is the United States today. However, Huntington said that there is no American dream, there is only the American dream created by Anglo-Protestant society, and he was right about that because that American dream reached by the Anglo-Protestants is the same American dream everyone is looking for when going to the United States, to start over, looking for better opportunities, to set themselves free from the life they have. And it is not necessary to forget our Hispanic heritage in order to achieve that American dream. But in fact, the combination of that heritage and the assimilation of new values are needed to combat division in the country and to diversify and enrich ourselves to conquer any dream we have.